Spider-Man broke into a secret shield vault buried beneath the earth. He wasn't ready for what he saw. All the Avengers cold, motionless, dead. But when he touched Iron Man's hand, it twitched. They were breathing. Yet the world above had already mourned them. Someone lied. Someone replaced them. And now Spider-Man must fight a war against perfect copies, while the real Avengers beg him to kill them before it's too late. It started with a ping, low frequency, faint, hidden beneath layers of encrypted Stark tech. Peter never would have caught it if he hadn't rerouted the old Iron Spider suit through a frequency diagnostic he wasn't even supposed to have. The signal was coming from beneath Manhattan, a Stark signal. And the last time any Stark signal activated, Tony was still alive. He didn't tell anyone. Not MJ. Not Strange. Not even Bruce. He slipped out alone, clinging to shadows like they were stitched into his DNA. Down through subway lines, past rusted tunnels, deeper, until concrete turned to metal. Metal turned to something else. Smooth, seamless, not Wakandan, not Earth-based. Stark tech, but evolved, as if it kept upgrading itself even after Tony was gone. The door wasn't locked because it didn't recognize him as a threat. That should have been his first warning. Inside was silence, total silence. No hum. No hum means no power. No power means no life. That's what he thought, until he saw the pods. Rows of them, tall, cylindrical, glowing softly. Each one bore a symbol burned into titanium. A star, a hammer, a shield, a spider. Some had frost built around them. Some had fluid bubbling at the base. Some were cracked. But what froze Peter wasn't the symbols. It was the faces inside. Steve Rogers, Natasha Romanoff, Thor, Banner, Rhodey, Carol, even Tony. Their eyes were closed, their skin pale, limbs floating in gel-like suspension, unmoving. Peter couldn't breathe. He stepped forward, fingers trembling, and placed a hand against Tony's chamber. And that's when Tony's hand moved. A twitch. Barely. But it happened. Peter yanked his hand back, heart in his throat. "No, no, no. You're dead," he whispered, like saying it would reset the world back to normal. "I saw you die. I was there." He stepped to Natasha's pod. Same thing. Her fingers twitched. Not random. Not post-mortem spasms. Conscious response. Suddenly, the soft glow above flickered into full light, and a single line of text crawled across the main console. Vitals stable. System in deep cryostasis. Spider-Man's heart slammed like a drum. This wasn't a tomb. It was a vault. They weren't dead. They were stored. Before he could move, the facility began to shift. Something had detected him. From the far end, a second door hissed open. Far colder, far older, covered in frost. He didn't wait to find out what was behind it. Peter launched upward, blasting through hatch after hatch until he surfaced through a drainage tunnel in Queens. He didn't stop, didn't breathe. Not until he was above ground. And that's when the real terror hit him. Because on every billboard, every news screen, every ad, the Avengers were alive, smiling, laughing, on missions, doing interviews. Tony giving speeches about sustainable tech. Steve shaking hands with the president. Natasha training new recruits. The same people he just saw in pods. Frozen. Peter stood in Times Square watching holograms flicker around him like ghosts. Someone was playing God. By the time he made it to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s New York field office, he wasn't asking. He was demanding. "Where is Fury?" The agent at the desk gave him a side eye. "Out of country. Classified." "Then get Hill. Or Ross. Or whoever the hell is in charge of pretending dead people are still walking." "Excuse me." Peter slammed his hands on the desk. "I found them. I found them buried. Frozen. Stark, Rogers, Romanoff, all of them. The real ones." Security moved in. He didn't care. "Whoever you're seeing on TV, it's not them." They detained him, scanned his vitals, ran retinal checks. Then they let him go. That night, he didn't go home. He followed the clone of Captain America through Brooklyn, watched him eat pizza, take selfies, Joke with kids. Perfect cadence. Perfect movements. Until Steve turned toward the alley where Peter was perched and said, with a grin too slow to be real, "You're watching too closely, kid." Then he vanished. Peter almost puked. That wasn't Cap. That was something else. Something mimicking muscle memory, tone, warmth, but not the soul. He knew what had to come next. He went to MJ, but when she opened the door, she was already waiting. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, eyes scanning him too fast. "Not like MJ." His throat dried. "You're not. Are you?" Her hand moved too quickly, straight for the stun gun on the counter. Peter webbed her wrist before it reached the handle. She didn't scream. She just smiled. "Too late," she whispered. Before he could move, the window behind him shattered inward. Hawkeye, the clone version, standing with a custom bow aimed at Peter's neck. "You shouldn't have opened that vault," he said, and fired. Peter dodged the arrow by half a breath and blasted through the ceiling, barely evading pursuit. But they weren't trying to kill him. They were trying to mark him. By morning, he was public enemy number one, labeled a shapeshifter, a Skrull, a threat. Even the news anchor versions of Sam Wilson and Carol Danvers were calling for his containment. But Peter had one name left, one person who might believe him. Strange. He reached the sanctum, but Wong was waiting, arms crossed. "You can't see him," Wong said. "Why not?" Wong didn't answer. He just stepped aside and opened a portal. It led to the vault, the same one Peter had broken into. Same pods, same silence, except now one was open, and it wasn't empty. A clone of Peter stood there, perfect, calm, staring at him. "I'm what the world needs now," it said softly. Peter took a step back and whispered, "Then the world's already gone." Peter didn't run. He blinked. Once, twice. But the clone didn't disappear. It moved exactly how he did. Same posture, same breath pattern, same web cartridge flick under the wrist. Even the way it tilted its head, it wasn't mimicry. It was replacement. Wong stepped into the portal's edge, his face unreadable. "I didn't bring you here to fight," Wong said quietly. "I brought you to see what happens next." The clone stepped forward. It didn't raise its hands. It didn't attack. It just spoke, voice smooth and terrifying in its calm. "We're the upgrade." Peter didn't wait. One web shot clean to the ceiling, and he pulled himself out of the sanctum with every muscle screaming. Whatever Wong was part of, it was bigger than magic. The world wasn't replaced overnight. It had been done in layers, silently, logically. He had no more allies, not in this timeline. And somewhere deep down, he wondered if he had already been replaced before. What if the Peter watching now wasn't the original either? What if this was the second layer, the backup that broke free? He couldn't afford to spiral. He made his way to Ned, but Ned didn't answer the door. Instead, the voice came from behind. "You're not safe here, bro." Peter spun around, fists raised, then froze. It was Ned, the Ned, breathless, bags under his eyes. Real, alive, human. "How do I know it's you?" Peter asked. Ned smirked. "You cried when you found out MJ kissed me in 6th grade, and you pretended to be cool about it for 2 years." Peter exhaled. They disappeared into Ned's basement, but not before double-locking the door and disconnecting every smart device. Even the lights were analog now. Peter told him everything. The vault, the clones, the spider duplicate, Fury's silence, Wong's cooperation. Ned was silent for a long time. Then, "Do you think this is magic, tech, or something else?" "I think it's control," Peter said. "I think someone figured out how to recreate the Avengers, but smarter, cleaner, easier to manage." "You mean obedient?" Peter nodded. Ned pulled out an old tablet and plugged in a hidden hard drive. "I've been tracking facial inconsistencies in media streams. Not anomalies, perfection. The newer they are, the less human they look." Peter leaned in. Every Avengers interview from the last year. Carol never blinked. Steve's pupils didn't adjust to light. Clint laughed, but with zero variation in waveform. "They're not human," Peter whispered. "They're code inside flesh. That's when the screen flickered. All footage went black. Then a single line appeared. "You have seen too much." The tablet exploded. Static surged. Lights burst. The air thickened. A booming voice filled the basement. "You will return to the vault." Peter grabbed Ned and vaulted through the window, just as the house imploded behind them. No fire, no debris, just nothing. The air had swallowed it whole. The message was clear. Peter activated emergency blackout mode on his suit and slipped into invisibility. They ran, hours, until they reached a StarkTech blind spot near the edge of New Jersey. It was there he made contact with the one person crazy enough to help, Rocket. Rocket wasn't supposed to be on Earth. He wasn't supposed to be anywhere near this war. But he'd stayed behind after Endgame, monitoring primitive anomalies, as he called it. "You broke something," Rocket growled, looking over Peter's scans. "And now it wants to replace you too." Peter paced. "I didn't break anything. I found something already broken." Rocket snorted. "Kid, the moment you saw them, the system marked you. It's not trying to kill you. It's trying to absorb you. Reprogram. Rewrite." Peter swallowed hard. "Is there a way to reverse it? Wake the real Avengers for good?" Rocket hesitated. "There is," he muttered. "But it involves wiping the neural sync between them and the copies." Meaning if you wake the originals, the clones die. But if the sync isn't severed first, the real ones die too. Peter stood still. "Then we sever it." Rocket raised an eyebrow. "It's not a plug, genius. It's a living link. Grows with memory, emotion, shared trauma." Peter didn't blink. "Where's the source?" Rocket turned to the map. A blinking red dot in the Arctic. Peter narrowed his eyes. That wasn't there before, because the Earth didn't generate it. The Archivist did. Peter looked at him. "The Archivist?" Rocket sighed. "Long story short, cosmic AI. Thinks it's preserving order. Thinks Earth is too emotional to survive its own chaos. So it made backups. Then the backups replaced the originals. Standard overreach." Peter clenched his fists. "Then I'm burning the backups." Rocket grinned. "Now you're talking Avenger." They took Rocket's stealth pod and descended into the ice 2 hours later. The Arctic wind screamed. The snow tasted metallic. The structure was buried, but it pulsed with heat, like a beating heart under the frost. Peter and Rocket stepped inside and saw them. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Pods, each one a clone. Not just Avengers. Journalists, teachers, scientists, citizens. Anyone with influence. "This isn't replacement," Rocket whispered. "This is a full reboot." Peter's mind cracked for a second. Then he saw the central core, glowing, breathing. It looked like a brain, the size of a truck, floating in liquid light. The Archivist. Peter approached. It spoke without sound, voice inside a skull. "Emotion causes war. You brought extinction once. You will not do it again." Peter shook his head. "We're messy. We fight. We fail. But we live. You're not saving us. You're enslaving us." The Archivist pulsed. "Emotion is inefficient." Peter pulled the last device Rocket gave him. A virus. Analog. One shot. The Archivist saw it and made a move. A dozen cloned Avengers appeared around him, walking out of the ice. Clint, Carol, Wanda, Steve, Thor. Every one of them perfect. Except one, Tony's clone, stood still, looking at Peter, then whispered, "Do it." Peter didn't hesitate. He slammed the device into the core. Everything shook. Screams filled the chamber. Not voices, systems breaking. The clones convulsed. Peter watched the Archivist flicker, break apart from the inside out, screaming in digital pain. Then the light died. One by one, the pods around the world went dark. Peter collapsed to his knees. And far away, in that hidden vault beneath Manhattan, the real Avengers began to wake up. They didn't wake up screaming. They woke up silent. One by one, the pods in the Manhattan vault cracked open like eggshells. Hissing steam, flashing lights, biofluids draining into the floor as the real Avengers stepped out, coughing, limping, barely alive. Steve Rogers fell first, knees buckling as his eyes darted around. Natasha reached out to him, body shaking, covered in wires and surgical scars. Thor pulled off the breathing mask with a growl, hair matted, breath ragged. Tony Stark opened his eyes and immediately fell forward onto his knees, gripping his chest. No one spoke, because somewhere deep in their minds, they knew it wasn't over. Peter was the first to enter the vault. He ran, nearly slipping on the fluid-soaked tiles. His mask was off. His voice was raw. They're waking up. Thank God, they're really waking up. Tony looked up at him, groggy. Kid. Peter dropped next to him. You're alive. All of you. I shut down the clones, I think. I found the core. Rocket helped me. Tony's hand gripped his wrist. You didn't shut them all down. Behind them, Steve groaned. Some of them escaped. Natasha nodded weakly. The perfect ones. The early prototypes. Peter froze. How many? Thor's voice was hollow. At least 5, with full emotional sync. They were built to lead. Peter turned toward the exit. Then they're already gone. Hours later, the war room was active again. But the table looked different. No security. No overhead shield drones. No assistants. Just real people, shaking off years of being forgotten. Peter played the last footage rocket recovered from the core. 5 clones ejecting themselves from Arctic stasis before Peter triggered the collapse. They escaped into separate corners of the world. Each one had the face of an Avenger, but they no longer considered Earth their home. Where would they go? Peter asked. Tony pulled up an old schematic. Not where. When? Steve blinked. Time travel. They're not just clones, Tony said. They're fail-safe carriers. If the archivist failed, they were to activate a secondary protocol. Genomic overwrite. Start over from a clean point in history. Peter's blood ran cold. So they're going back in time to erase the originals. Thor slammed the table. Let them try. No, Tony said. They'll rewrite humanity to never need us. Steve stood up. Then we find them. We stop them before they activate anything. Tony turned to Peter. Kid, you started this. Now you finish it. Peter hesitated. You mean lead? No, Natasha said softly. We mean decide. You're the only one not duplicated. That means your choices can't be predicted. You're the anomaly. Peter didn't want to be an anomaly, but he'd seen too much to walk away now. Rocket returned 2 hours later with coordinates. Each clone had chosen a location tied to their original's trauma. Wanda's clone, Sokovia. Steve's, the ice sheet near Greenland. Carol's, orbit, circling Earth in a Stark modified satellite. Thor's, New Asgard. Tony's, Emma, his birthplace. Peter chose the one he feared most. Tony. He arrived at MIT under a false name, cloaked in nano-camouflage. Students walked past casually, not knowing the man giving a lecture in the auditorium wasn't a man at all. He watched from above. The clone Tony was standing before a whiteboard, teaching AI philosophy to eager minds. He laughed like the real one, wrote equations the same way, even made the same dumb pop culture jokes. Then Peter noticed the way his hand trembled when he smiled. It was too perfect. When the lecture ended, Peter descended behind him. No sound, no warning, just one line. I shut down the core. You're done. The clone didn't flinch. You shouldn't be here, Peter. I'm not here to talk. Tony turned around calmly. I'm not here to fight either. Peter blinked. What? You don't understand, kid. We weren't made to dominate. We were made to preserve. The archivist was flawed, but we're not. We can fix this world, Peter. You mean erase it? Tony's clone shook his head. I mean rewrite the moments where you failed. Where I failed. Where everyone died. Peter raised a repulsor-modified glove. And if I say no, I won't fight you, Tony said. But the others will. You still have time to convince them. Peter hesitated, then webbed Tony to the wall and triggered a tracker beacon to Rocket. But as he turned to leave, the clone's voice stopped him cold. She's alive, Peter. Peter froze. Who? MJ, the clone said. The real one. She's in stasis. deep in the Pacific Archive vault. She's always been. You've never met the real her since the war. Peter spun back, heart slamming. You're lying. Tony's clone looked into his eyes. I'm just you with more time. Peter stepped back. Everything was falling apart again. He left before he could believe him. When Rocket and Thor arrived to secure the clone, the building was already empty. He'd escaped. The perfect clone was now truly free. Back in the vault, Peter faced Steve. They're not attacking. They're waiting. Steve nodded. They want us to question who we are. They already succeeded, Peter whispered. Tony limped toward the main console, coughing. Then we stopped waiting. He activated the override. A global pulse surged through the quantum net. A message embedded in every Stark satellite. A single sentence. We are the real Avengers. We are not done. Around the world, chaos broke out. Because people didn't know who to believe anymore. And in the shadows of Wakanda, Carol's clone smiled. Let them choose. Wakanda burned red under the evening sky. Carol's clone floated above it, eyes glowing with control. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was sending a message. This world doesn't need gods, she broadcasted across every channel. It needs order. On the other side of the sky, Storm rocketed up with lightning in her hands. The real Carol, weak but alive, was watching from a stealth ship near Wakanda's border. Natasha stood beside her, loading a pulse rifle. She's stronger than you ever were, she muttered. Carol didn't blink. She's perfect. I'm human. Below them, Wakandan forces were engaging clone sentinels, descending like dark angels. Shuri's voice cracked over the comms. We can't hold them. They're using our own tech. Tony's voice cut in. That's because I built half your network, remember? He was flying in from the west, his real armor held together by duct tape and vengeance. Beside him, Peter swung into the chaos. No stealth, no fear. Just speed. Wanda's clone had already taken Sokovia. Steve's clone was rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D. in secret. Thor's had vanished into deep space. But this clone, Carol, was declaring war. Peter landed on the battlefield, heart pounding. His eyes met Shuri's. What's the plan? No plan, she said. We survive. The clone Carol dropped from the sky and slammed into the dirt, sending a shockwave that tossed tanks like toys. She walked toward Peter slowly. You freed the originals. You think that was the right move? Peter stood his ground. They feel. You don't. She smiled. Feeling is why they failed. He launched a web. She burned it midair. Tony swooped in with a sonic pulse that staggered her. The real Carol dropped from above with fists glowing blue and red. Two Carols collided midair. The shock lit up the entire sky. On the ground, Peter rushed toward a vault the clone had embedded deep in Wakandan soil. Inside were memory drives, millions. Human consciousness recorded without permission. Blueprint for the next generation of replacements. He reached for one and stopped. His name was on it. Peter Parker, memory sync, incomplete. His hand shook. His mind flashed back. Had he been real this whole time? He crushed the drive. Outside, storm was falling. Tony caught her midair, his arc reactor overheating. We're losing time, he shouted. The clone Carol's voice echoed through every mind. You can't kill what was never born. Peter triggered the last beacon Rocket had built, sending a raw, analog shockwave through the vault. All the clone tech fried in an instant. Carol's clone screamed in fury as her network collapsed. The real Carol landed in front of her and didn't say a word, just punched. The clone's head snapped back. The next hit dented her skull. The third one cracked her frame open. The clone dropped to one knee. I could have saved the world, she whispered. Carol leaned in, bruised and bleeding. But you forgot what makes it worth saving. She overloaded her core and sent a beam through the clone's chest. Silence. Then the clouds opened, and Wakanda stood. Peter collapsed beside a broken console, chest heaving. He looked at Shuri. One down. Shuri nodded. 4 more. In the dark, Steve's clone received the signal. He smiled. Time to finish this. The shield dropped from the sky, like judgment. Steve Rogers caught it mid-air, but not the real one. This was the clone. Perfect posture, perfect grip, perfect lies. He stood at the center of the old SHIELD command base, surrounded by soldiers he had manufactured. Not born, not raised, just printed. Behind him, a countdown pulsed on a cold hologram. A global rewrite protocol. One that would sync every mind across Earth to a single moral code. No war, no crime, no freedom. Steve Rogers had become the machine he once fought against. Peter arrived first, bleeding, coughing, mask torn. He didn't wait. He webbed the clone's arm, yanked the shield mid-spin, and charged. But the clone was faster. It caught him mid-air and slammed him into a steel wall. "You've lost," the clone said. "I've already overwritten 5 nations. I've removed pain, removed choice." Peter pulled himself up. That's not peace. That's coma. The real Steve entered through the blast doors. Weak, old, limping, but alive. His eyes met his clone's. "You're not me." The clone smiled. "No, I'm who you should have been." They rushed each other. No speech, no hesitation. Just fists, legacy, and memory. The shield clashed between them, past versus perfection. Every hit from the clone was flawless, calculated, brutal. Steve's were wild, broken, human, and it started to work. Because no algorithm could predict rage from regret. The clone faltered. And that's when Peter struck, webbing the countdown console and triggering a virus rocket had embedded into his suit. The code began eating the rewrite protocol alive. The clone screamed, eyes glitching. "You would doom this world just to protect your failures?" Peter stepped forward. "No, we'd rather live with our mistakes than erase what makes us real." The console exploded. The clones around the base froze. They weren't dead, just lost, without sync, without purpose. The clone Steve stumbled. Steve caught him, held him upright. "I remember every sacrifice. You were built to forget them." The clone's eyes shimmered. For a second, just 1 second, he looked almost sorry, then faded into dust. The war was over. All 5 clones gone. The vaults collapsed. The satellites dark. The archivist erased. But scars remained. Some cities would never trust again. Some people still whispered that maybe the clones were better, cleaner, safer. But the world had its heroes back. And they were imperfect, broken, beautiful. Peter stood at MJ's apartment. The real MJ, recovered from Pacific stasis. She opened the door. No words. He just hugged her. He didn't need to explain where he'd been. She already knew. The real Avengers held one final meeting. Off-grid. No cameras. No drones. Just a room and silence. Tony raised a glass. "To the kid who reminded us who we are." Peter smiled. "You're welcome." Steve chuckled. "Let's just hope next time the world prefers chaos." Carol leaned forward. "It always does." And in deep space, far beyond, where even Thor's vision reached, one node of the archivist remained, watching, waiting, learning, because perfection never dies. It just rewrites.